finish up real quick and then we'll continue the discussion here. So Bitcoin is a worthy investment. Again, as you notice, this is not financial advice. That is not popping up. It is right there, I promise. So just a disclaimer, just in case you decide to put your life savings into it. I didn't tell you to do it. So kind of, I believe someone, you had asked as far as, okay, like, why does this really matter? This, like, getting to a point of, okay, like exchanging will be a while, right? So I remember hearing this back in 2017 where people were like, oh, like, what's the big deal about this? Bitcoin market cap was only at $200 billion. And people were saying, yeah, okay, cool. It's at $2 trillion. For comparison's sake, if it was a country by total GDP, it'd be top 10 country. If it was, it is a top 10 asset in the world right now. So it's up there with the likes of silver, and it's up there with the stocks such as like Amazon and Google and Meta. And then finally, as far as if it was a bank, it would be up there with the likes of all those big Chinese banks, all these big American banks. It'd be a top 15 bank. So it's a major player at this point, and I watched it go from like 200 billion to 2 trillion. The ones that have been around for a while, I'm sure you guys saw that as well. Also back then, investment banks would never get into this stuff. And this is crazy. They're monitoring it, and I'm sure you heard Jamie Dimon's dialogue. Well, yeah, Bitcoin, this, that, da, da, da. Well, I mean, JP Morgan Chase is definitely looking into stablecoins now. So the tune has definitely changed in the past 8 years, and the tune will continue to change as more countries will
What would stablecoin prevail over this?
Over Bitcoin?
Oh yeah, over Bitcoin. Right? I mean, there's got to be. You got to follow money, right? The banks and the governments just go favoring towards stablecoin.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna get into something else now. Okay. So modernizing banks for modernizing modern banks. Banks with stablecoins is a good idea as far as transacting goes. Stablecoin network is there, such as USDT, which is Tether, USDC, which is run by Circle, it's a company. It's there. So if I want to send it to you, it's quick, it's easy, fast. That's what matters. Typically for cross-border payments right now, they utilize a system called SWIFT, which is a messaging system that takes a while. Stablecoins just quick like that, cheap, done, right? So banks would want that. Yeah, I mean, follow the banks for now. However, now we're getting to USD. So let's focus on America and let's focus on the banks. And this is more from my personal opinion and standpoint. So our banks hold USD. They get that money from the Federal Reserve typically, and then obviously whatever is in circulation, right? Now we're going really more into economics as far as I'd be concerned for the USD. The USD is the world reserve currency right now. However, the percentage of banks that hold USD has decreased from the early 2000s. So all central banks, combination of fiat currencies that they used to hold, 70% was USD early 2000s. Now it's down to 57%. So that rate is decreasing. So the utilization of the USD is decreasing as things go on. You have economies such as Russia, which is the 11th largest economy by GDP in the world. Iran, 40th. Obviously, they're sanctioned by the US and then. So they said, we're not going to trade in USD anymore.
There's 11 countries that don't trade with the USD.
Sorry?
11 countries.
11, yeah. So
bypass.
Then there you go. Then that's another good example right there. So the power of the USD is continuing to decrease. So the power of the USD continues to decrease. The power of the US banks will continue to decrease. And if we hold USD, then that influence and power will continue to decrease. And this is not going to be something that happened overnight, right? I mean, right now, cross-border payments are typically with USD, 80%. It's with USD. That number will start to decrease. If you've heard of the BRICS organization, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, I mean, eventually, if you are under the power of one country, they're going to get tired of it and say, all right, like, we're going to do our own thing. Have they erected their own system? Not yet. It's still a work in progress. It's going to take a little bit of time. But I mean, it's happening. It's in the works. And so these are the things that we need to heed to understand. And that's my reason I got into Bitcoin, because I saw where USD was going. I was like, all right, now better investment would be Bitcoin. And so as far as your comment about the banks, yeah, short term, next 5-10 years, yeah, for sure. Follow where the banks are going. Like that's fine. But eventually, I mean, in my opinion, especially if another recession hits, banks will fail. And then like you're really gonna have to think about, okay, like what is the worth of my USD? Perfect example, groceries, right? In the past couple of months, we were talking about volatility. Egg prices are up to like $5, $10, $12. Now they're like back down to like $3, $4. why are my egg prices fluctuating? I don't want to be paying $12 for eggs. All right, I won't eat eggs then. So that's the main reason why. Short term, fine. Long term, I don't think so. Yeah. And then last slide, last video. This is just to kind of wrap it up as far as, okay, this is the price of gold. So for the past 5 years, sits around 1,500, 3,500. Now it goes from loading. We're gonna give this a second.
Mine.
There we go. It might S&P 500. So we're comparing it. So if you go invested in S&P 500 5 years ago, you would have almost doubled, and then gold, you would have definitely doubled. Good investment, right? And then if I show you the chart, thank you. That's Bitcoin the past 5 years, 1,500% increase. Obviously, you see these. Yeah, this is not comfortable. This dip, that's not comfortable. But as you can see, if you show a linear. If you draw a linear line, so let's call it like there's more statistics based. If you draw a linear line regression right here, it's going up. It's going up, up, up at that point. And as an investment, you kind of have to go through the peaks and valleys a little bit, but overall it goes up. So that's the end of my presentation. Questions, roundtable discussion. What do you guys want to talk about? What questions may you have? I know, and I really do appreciate the discussion. Always very helpful. Yes.
Just a comment. I feel like the bulk of today, a lot of us have looked at this through the lens of how can I put more money in my pocket? How can I get more out of this as an investment? And I think one of the coolest things I learned through Bitcoin, especially from like Andreas Antonopoulos, was understanding there's a huge subset within Bitcoin people who are looking to make the world a better place in terms of unbanking the world. Like we have the luxury of having how many banks can we choose from if I go along down Broad Street right now. There's entire countries that don't have access to banking. And he talks about this whole concept of like technology leapfrogging, where if you look at phones as an example, there were countries that never had landline telephones and they skipped right ahead to cell phones.
Yep.
This is happening with third world countries and banks. So if you think about it through the lens of there's an entire market that doesn't have a bank and now their cell phone can be their bank, just like El Salvador, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I think that sometimes you got to take a step back and realize there's a lot of people in here that are looking at it that way, and that's what got me excited about Bitcoin. That's when there's already things looking to invest years ago, but when you start thinking about things like that, there's an entire untapped market still.
Yep.
Untapped opportunity.
Yep, absolutely. Good point.
So, I mean, and I started off the question at the very beginning, I don't know if we touched on it, but there's all these other coins out there.
Oh, right. Yeah, let's talk. Let's talk about
Right,
this
but
one.
1,500 plus. But I think the message, you tell me if I'm wrong or right here, is more about, it's like real estate, right? It's like they've laid down the sewers, like they've laid down the utilities and all that stuff versus those others are somewhat in the desert,
Yeah.
right? And they don't have all that infrastructure and all that security and all, and that's kind of the major differentiator on why there's much more acceptance. Obviously first mover, first mover advantage, right? But they sustain that because what they've laid out from an infrastructure point of view has held up. Is that comparative?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I mean,
or the other ones.
no, you're absolutely on point there because of Bitcoin and people, this is a complaint I would always hear about Bitcoin. It's like, oh, it's like too slowly developing. It's not transacting fast enough. I felt like Bitcoin transactions are great, but people just, I felt like want to complain for the sake of complaining. But my thing was always just, yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to take a while. It's an entire infrastructure project. You're changing the entire world infrastructure. It's going to take decades to do. But people want it quick, because you had all these things like Ethereum. I wouldn't say it was that quick, but let's talk about some other coins. Like you had Dogecoin come up, you had ARK, you had NEM, you had Nexo. I've invested in all these coins. NEM is a coin. Their token was XEM. I guess I'm putting them on blast. I don't even know if they exist anymore. And that's the thing. I invested in them, try to put my money to an exchange so I could consolidate. It disappeared. Because a lot of these coins just didn't have the infrastructure. They were a lot of rug pulls. Rug pull meaning, hey, I'm just going to make some sort of random token or a meme coin, and then I'm going to have people invest, and I'm just going to take all your money. So watch out for that.
Right. So Bitcoin has some staying power because of that. But as we all know, technology leapfrogs itself. So to me, some of the biggest risks here on Bitcoin, well, we're talking decades and stuff. You brought up the point about scalability. challenge, right? Well, the next thing, right, we're all enamored by Google search. Now what are we all enamored by? ChatGPT, right?
Yep.
And Google. Heck
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of, to me, seems to be some of the big risk here for Bitcoin is who's next, who's in the.
Oh, you think someone will come and leapfrog?
Come in and
Okay, that's fair,
leapfrog and
that's
say,
fair.
we're gonna be a lot faster, we're gonna be,
That's fair.
you know,
If they like
billions of transactions on the second.
If they like the history of security, that's a big, like
I'm
we were
not
talking about
saying
earlier.
be overnight. The next one's in the wings.
You got
I wish I talked about
I
these
don't
areas.
have a card.
like
Flipping.
flipping, call it flipping,
Okay.
you know, where that could be a reality, where Ethereum overtakes it. Bitcoin dominance is like a metric to pay attention to, and there are connections to volatility and movements in the market with regard to where Bitcoin dominance is. So I think it's the kind of thing where you'd see, you know, you'd have enough foresight, like plenty of foresight in advance. It's not like there's any crypto that's going to shoot up and overtake a $2 trillion market cap overnight.
That's what they said about Google. That's what they said about, you know, some of the browsers, right?
If you're looking for your next move, the biggest thing I always tell everybody is I refuse to invest in things that are centralized. Like I know that you can make money off of those coins, but biggest thing is I don't want anyone to have a controlling stake over the coins that I'm putting my money into, because that's when you get the hop to, is that's when you get the bubble. So if you're looking for those, I gotta say, like, just first thing I do when I'm looking into a new currency is it decentralized, and read about it and make sure that it is.
So to your Google point right there, so you're absolutely right with that, but Google's been around for almost like 20 plus years at this point. And when it first started out, you had Yahoo searching with Ask Jeeves and then Google. Google reigned supreme, and they reigned supreme for a long time. So you're absolutely right. Is Bitcoin the perfect system? No. Will it be eventually dethroned? Probably. But as far as right now goes, we're in the stage where everyone's getting into Bitcoin, even slowly. So it's like, right now, I don't believe it will, but anything's possible. And that was the same thing with Google, right? Google are using Ask Jeeves and this, that, but eventually, I don't use Ask Jeeves. Like, I started using Google. That is it.
I can remember interviewing a software developer way back when Google came out. What's your favorite website? It's Google. Go over to Google. A box of good luck.
I mean, they knew what was up.
Google's a verb. You don't really go up and go Ask Jeeves, something like that.
Google's a verb.
Google in the room. So,
Somebody go Yahoo.
yeah, exactly.
Everyone, thank you so much for doing this
Yeah,
today for us. I think it was really wonderful to listen to the questions and interactions of the group.